Welcome back, Steeler Nation, to the Northern Steel Podcast. Whoa, playoff edition. It is the playoffs. Thank you for joining us so we can talk about the Steelers are coming off a 4 god-dang game losing streak. And we're going to preview how these playoffs are going to go. And I'm not feeling good about it, but hey, we'll get into that later. This is episode 93 from the Northern Steel Podcast. Chris, like always, can you name a player, a legendary player that wore the number 93?
A legendary? Specifically legendary, Dom. Jason Warlids?
Aha! Jason Warlids. I was going to say Mark Robinson.
You said legendary, Dom.
I know. Yeah, he's a legend.
Oh, boy. Back at it.
Chris is back again on the podcast. Good to have you back, Chris. We're here to kind of wrap up the season and talk about the playoffs. Now, look, here's the deal. This episode might be shorter than normal because something I just really don't like to do for everyone out there, and Chris agrees with this too. That's why it gets hard. Last year was hard doing this too, but what I don't like to do is to talk about the same problems over and over and over again, because it's really depressing. It's really negative, and we all know it's not changing. So what I can do for you is I can highlight a couple things that I've heard from the press conferences. I can highlight a couple things that I've seen, but otherwise I don't really want to dwell on the same problems that keep happening because they've been happening. And unless a coaching change happens or things happen this offseason, they're going to keep happening. So I guess first let's talk about the Bengals. We lost that game. What was the final score, Chris? I think it was 19-17, I believe.
Yeah, 19-17.
First time since 2003 where the Steelers finished out the year not scoring more than 17 points in their final 4 games. First time since the 80s, I believe, that the Steelers lost their final 4 games of the year. Things are really looking up for the team. Chris, what did you think about the Bengals game?
Here's my thoughts, Dom. Give me a D.
D.
Give me an I. I'm not going to spell out disappointment because it takes too long, but disappointed, Dom.
S.
Extremely. Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I mean, here's the thing. Obviously, if we want to look at it from like a positivity standpoint, our defense held them to obviously 19 points when they're a red hot Bengals team. At the same time, our offense looked abysmal, really bad, really bad schemes, which I'm sure we'll get into unless you want me to just dive right into it right away. But it was just,
I mean, you can feel free. Give me the thoughts that you have.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, the what was the stat that we literally just saw? Where it's like in the entire first half of all the possessions we had, we ran the ball on first down every single possession of the first half. And here Arthur Smith in press conferences is saying, "Well, I don't think it's predictable, dude. Come on." We're literally you approach this podcast, today's episode, saying we don't want to sit here complaining about the same problems over and over. I agree, but we're having the same problems over and over. And if you do want to hear about the problems that we have week in and week out, listen to last season. All right. Dom and I literally were like, hey, copy and paste. There's your episode. But it's just like, I just don't know what to say. It was tough game to watch, a game that I felt like we honestly could have won there at the end, even though it wouldn't have felt like a win realistically. And then also like, dude, what was Russ thinking there at the end of the game, especially with clock management and trying to get an extra yard rather than stopping the clock and running out of bounds? I don't know what to think of this team, man. And here he is trying to boost up morale and talk to Cam Hayward after the game saying, hey, I know we lost 4, but what about winning these last 4? Am I right? Are you with me? And Cam Hayward's like, dude, I'm too old for this shit. Okay. So I hope he's right. I hope something happens, but my honest thoughts of the game were pretty disappointed with how we played. I don't know, Dom.
Yeah, I'm going to start with I guess Arthur Smith, just to talk about what you had talked about First of all, Arthur Smith, he's actually a really great coach, Jets and Bears fans. So you definitely want to hire him as your head coach. You super want to hire him.
Don't take him from us.
Don't pry him from us, please. There's no way. How could we go on?
This is the first time. This is the first happiness I felt.
Oh man, how could we ever move on? Anyways, hopefully he gets hired to a full-time to a head coaching gig so he can get out of Pittsburgh. It's been an up and down year, but at the end of the day, mostly down based on the stats that he's had. Like you said, running on first down every single possession. And then he talks about not being predictable, but like every fan knows it's predictable. I can sit here and tell you that, you know, they're going to run, pass, and one of those passes is going to be a play action every single time. It's what they do. And when they line up with Najee, it's like 9 times out of 10 gonna be a run. And I feel like that's the main reason why Jaylen Warren runs so well is because he is such a good pass blocker. You don't know, will they run with him? Will they pass them? Not really sure, but with Najee, it's like they're running the ball. It's very predictable and poor. Also, Mike Tomlin in his press conferences talked about the Steelers went 0 for 17 on scoring on the first drive this year. And he was like, "Oh yeah, yes, they had never scored on the first drive this whole entire year. Something Matt Canada had at least done, but the Steelers had not done that once." And Mike Tomlin said, "Oh yeah, that is a problem now that we are looking into. A problem now?
Now?
That should have been a big red flag week 8. See you later, Chris. Chris has had enough. This is news to him. That should have been a problem that you discussed week 8. And that's the problem with Tomlin is he's not willing to change until things are just way too bad and too far gone. And it's kind of why we're getting a sense that he might be losing the locker room. Look, and I don't blame the people for doing that. So for them to go 0-17 and Tomlin's like, now we're looking into it, it's just asinine. It really is.
You know what it kind of looks or feels like to me in a way? I'm going to make a really horrible comparison, but like we've all, I'm assuming we're all anime fans, correct? Out there, all you listeners. Yeah. But like Tomlin almost, his answers give me the whole like part of the cards feel like, oh, we'll win as long as we have friendship and love and everything. It's just fine. But he's always like stressing, we're not trying hard enough. These plays will work as long as we have the heart to do it. We have to have all guys there running the game plan. As long as we're together, we'll do it. It's fine and dandy. I agree. It's a team sport. This isn't all guys.
This isn't a Disney movie.
No, it's not. And like all guys, they have to be together. But at the same time, if a game plan is not working, maybe it's not because our guys aren't trying hard enough. Maybe it's because our play calling is literal trash.
Yeah.
Like change something. I don't care. Stop relying on your veterans for everything. There are young guys who are good. Change the play calls. I don't know. It's
I found out that when he says that when he's upset and he goes, "Yep, there's going to be some changes this week." It's not actually any changes in the personnel or the game plans that they plan for the
padded practices.
It's padded practices,
which the players are like upset about. Yeah, which is understandable.
Yeah, because the game plan still sucks. So that's like the biggest. Go ahead.
Also, we already have enough injuries on our team, and the dude's solution, when we have scrubs in there, is like, let's do a padded practice, and like you guys need to practice like you're playing. Like we literally just had Roman Wilson take his first steps since he was 8 years old on our field, and we're just like we're just starting to get some guys back, Cole Holcomb and everything. We're like, yeah, let's do a padded practice. Like, what a dumbass idea. I'm sorry, but like that's not the problem. Although this is my last tangent, and then we can move on, or you have something to say. But like, Dom, I know you were watching it too, but watching the Lions-Vikings game last Sunday night was like such a oh my gosh moment, because just watching both sides of the ball, like guys were so aggressive. Like everybody went on the tackle. It was so fast paced and just hard hitting. And like you could tell each player there wanted to be there. And I feel like watching every Steeler game, I don't see that. I see that out of a couple individuals, but like, it's a lot of, oh, this guy has it. And then, other guys are waiting. It's like, I didn't see one guy not in like a 10-yard vicinity, not try to jump in on the same tackle on both sides of the ball. And that's why you have a team like the Lions who have 25 guys on IR just on their defense alone, still, taking care of business. The Vikings didn't score a single time in the red zone, like the entire game. And they were like at the 5-yard line or less, which is crazy. So it's just like, going back to the whole like having heart thing, like, yeah, I think the game plan is the biggest issue, but like there's also a lot of people who are like, it just doesn't seem like we're a championship caliber team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it starts with coaching on all levels. I mean, we talked about Pat Meyer being atrocious as well. And there's only been 3 tackles in the entire NFL who have let up 10 sacks or more this year. And 2 of them are on our team, and Broderick Jones and Dan Moore.
Ass.
Broderick Jones gave up 8 before the bye week, but he did live up. He has only given up 2 since then, so that's good for him. But Dan Moore has given up 10 since the bye week. He's been horrific, and he's definitely gone for next year. Russell Wilson, something I've also brought up, his average over the last 4 games has been 174.5 passing yards, 5.6 yards attempt, and an 81 passer rating. Kenny Pickett's average in 2023 was 172-yard passing average, 6.4 passing attempt. So it's higher, an 81.4 passing rating, also higher. And the Steelers saw those numbers and turned to Mason Rudolph, but Mike Tomlin's going to stick with Russ. He should be turning to Justin Fields. Also want to point out that Russ he's 6-5, I believe, right? So in 11 starts, or was it 12? Or is he 6-6?
No, he's 6-5.
6-5. So in 11 starts, he had 17 touchdowns and 5 picks. 18 touchdowns total, if you want to count the rushing touchdown. In 6 starts, Fields had 10 touchdowns and a pick. I like to imagine that in 7 more starts, Fields could have amassed 7 more touchdowns. And if he can, what really did Russ provide us more that Justin couldn't? Because sure, Russ had some really high moments and some sparked games against weaker defenses, but what really has he provided us more than Fields couldn't at this point?
Here's the other thing that we spoke on it early on in the season of what was so valuable with Justin Fields, which, maybe we had it a little bit with Russ in the beginning, but like, you really got to value the legs on Justin Fields, because the time of possession that we used to have, honestly, like, yeah, we weren't scoring a lot of points, with Justin. Obviously, we had that Raiders game that we did, but at the same time, like, our time of possession with Justin, he just extends drives. And now whether or not that ends in a field goal or like even ends in a punt, at least we maybe had the ball and gave the defense a little bit more time and more time for us to kind of regroup as a unit. That just doesn't happen. There's been so many 3-and-outs in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it's been horrible. So I'm all Justin Fields. I hope he gets the nod. I know there's been talks, and Arthur Smith is pulling his Tomlin hat where he's like, you got to burn all the boats, whatever that means. Basically saying like, no stone left unturned. It will put him in when it's appropriate. They're not going to put him in. They might do like a 3rd-and-1 wildcat with Justin or whatever, but I'm not convinced.
And then everyone knows what's coming after that too. So
yeah.
I also don't love that. I talked about that earlier this year, that I toyed with the idea of putting Justin in on some certain package plays to provide a spark. But when he's coming off cold off the bench, it's kind of tough to gain a rhythm, especially throwing the ball. So I don't know if I love that either. I'd rather just start him, or I don't know. But he can definitely is better on quarterback sneaks than Russ. I'll tell you that much right now. Russ is 4'11". Justin Fields is 6'3". So it's like that's going to be even better too. And the thing is too, I just want to talk about Mike Tomlin's press conference too, because there's a couple of things he said that really blew my mind, and also is pushing me more towards that. I think he should be done. I really do, and this is not like a bash against like Tomlin sucks and has always sucked. I know a lot of people feel that way, and I think he has been bad for a while, sure, but he's gotten stale, and the record and the stats and everything proves it. And just when he answers things, it's like, you know what? Maybe it's time for a change. There's something he answered when they talked about the offense committing to the run for all the entire game, basically, and in the fourth quarter, starting to pass the ball and able to score quickly. And he said, "Yeah, I would like to see the concept change quicker too." What do you mean, man? You're the head coach. You are not a fan. You make that call. Say, Arthur Smith, let's change the concept now. It's not working. But he didn't. And then you got Mike Williams, who makes one great catch a game and then plays 10 more snaps. They don't throw it to him, and they play Van Jefferson, who can't catch a ball. And he goes, "I'm open to potentially starting Williams more in this game." What do you mean, bro? You're open to it now?
What was
we traded for him.
Yeah. What was the point?
He should have been playing before. He should have been playing and starting before. And he's dumb, you guys. And the thing is he's so reliant. He's too loyal, which is a fault of this league. I think we like, this isn't a Disney movie. The NFL is a bang bang keep it moving game, and it's a business. And bad things happen to good people, and I get that. But we need players who can perform right now, and he's too loyal to a fault. That's why Dan Moore keeps playing. That's why I die on the hill that if Zach Frazier. If Nate Herbig never got hurt, Zach Frazier would have never played, even though he's made like all rookie teams all year. He would have never got the chance to play because Tomlin's too loyal. He's too good to veterans, and he likes Russ. And it's my worry that they're going to keep Russ for next year, and we're going to keep Tomlin for next year. We're going to keep Arthur Smith for next year, and it's just going to be horrendous, and we're going to stay in mediocrity forever. It's depressing. And you hear this depressing tone. I just want to get those off my chest because I don't know, guys. It's been a long time. So obviously we're in the playoffs. We've got this really disgusting taste in our mouth. We've got the past 5 years of how these teams have ended up. The Steelers teams have ended up with Tomlin, and there's not a lot of confidence from us. But let's talk about ways that we think we can actually pull off a win here in Baltimore. Weather conditions are windy and snowy, Chris, and potentially probably no Zay Flowers for the Ravens. What can the Steelers do to somehow pull off the upset here?
Is it time?
Yeah, that's time. Give it to them. Give it for potentially the last time in 2024 season. It's time for
Keys to the Game.
Keys to the Game, brought to you by
Old Spice.
Old Spice.
Thank you. Anyway, don't sue us. Here's a couple keys to the game that I got. You ready?
I'm ready.
So first off, offense, do something. I know it's way easier said than done. We're going up against a stellar, red hot Baltimore Ravens team, who honestly, for the first time in all the years they've had Lamar Jackson, I actually don't feel confident in playing against them because they're really good. He's having by far his best season, even though he's not going to win MVP this year. But obviously,
you don't think so?
I don't think Lamar's going to win the MVP this year. Personally, I think
he deserves it more than last year.
Hands down. There's not a question. Last year was a fluke.
I think he could win it, but if you're arguing based on that the NFL has its favorites and they've been pulling for Josh Allen all year, then yeah, I can buy that.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's not deserving of the MVP. I'm just saying I think with how the analysts and media is turning their heads, I just don't think they're going to give it to him, which I think is the wrong choice. But anyway,
that's fair.
The offense all runs through Lamar Jackson. Obviously, they're without Zay Flowers, which is huge. They still have Rashad Bateman, who is honestly having a better year than he has in the past and has become pretty reliable for him. And the other guys too, Isaiah Likely always seems to do something against us. Don't ever leave out Mark Andrews. They have enough weapons without Zay Flowers. It definitely helps not having him there, but we have to game plan for it. So neutralizing Lamar as best as possible. And I think the best way to do that, honestly, is coming from a guy who has been honestly pretty quiet. And I know there's been a lot of double teams and chip blocking and everything, but we really need TJ Watt to have a big game this week. All right. I mean, all the guys, we really need to apply the pressure. I think when Lamar is being blitzed and rushed, he kind of struggles there a little bit against us personally. But TJ needs to kind of have himself a day, I feel like, to get in there and become a disruptor like we all know he is. And so obviously if we can set Lamar off balance a little bit, disrupt that offense and get to the quarterback, I think those are going to be key stepping stones to possibly gaining a victory out in Baltimore. I spoke earlier on time of possession. Obviously going up against Lamar is a hard task to do. And being we got to keep our defense well rested. And I think we got to sustain drives on the offensive side of the ball. Normally these games are played out, other than last time, pretty close. So you got to take points where you can. I think field goals are going to be so important in this game. But if you can extend the drives and come away with some sort of points, I think that'll be a definite positive. I don't know. That's kind of what I have as far as my keys to the game. Dom, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So I want to start with same thing you said. You said the offense runs to Lamar Jackson. I want to say stack the box. Hopefully Joey and Trice or Dante or whoever's playing cornerbacks in this weather can cover Rashad Bateman enough, and Tylan Wallace and whoever else is at receiver enough for Lamar not to dice him up. I know Mark Andrews has actually been playing super well, and they're going to have to figure out a situation with that, with whether that be Minka or double, like whatever they're going to have to do for Mark Andrews. Hopefully he doesn't get 150 yards, but I could see that happening against this team. But I'm hoping that they can kind of man up on Lamar and stop him from passing the ball. But then, yes, they need to stack the box, stop Derrick Henry, stop Lamar Jackson. They missed like a ton of sacks last time. So they've been kind of bringing the blitz a little bit more with Patrick Queen. So bring the blitz, bring the pressure, get in his face, get him, off his comfortable ground level or where he likes to be. Like get him where he is feeling shaky and just attack the whole time. And if he beats you in the air with those conditions and with those people, then it is what it is. I think offensively, you have to mix it up. That I don't feel confident saying that, since Arthur Smith just said he doesn't think his offense is predictable, but you have to mix it up. Weather's going to be garbage. I don't expect Russ to have that good of a game. I wish. This is kind of like, it's not as bad as the Cleveland Browns first game of the year, but in that game, I also said I wanted Justin Fields to start that game because we'd have his legs to rely on in that horrible weather. And we didn't do that. Now, Russ actually had a decent game in that one, but it was tough. That's another reason why I'd like Justin Fields to start in this one, because I think the weather's going to be really hard. So just like Lamar has his legs in this game, we could use Fields in this one. Alas, we probably are not going to get that. So Russ has got to be on the ball. He's got to throw the ball around to every option he has. Pickens, Williams, Freiermuth, Darnell, everybody, right? He's got to spit the ball around. I know you want to say something. Say something before I move on to my last point.
I will. You keep going. I'm just giving the sign that
Sure. And then the last thing is it's playoff time. These are good teams. You have to make zero mistakes. I'm not even talking about a turnover. I'm talking about everything. Zero mistakes. No penalties no penalties coming after a great play. No giving the ball away on a turnover. There is no dropping the ball. George Pickens dropped 3 balls last time. No Russ running the ball in bounds when we need to score points. No Calvin Austin dropping a punt return, which hasn't happened all year. No not recovering a fumble when the Ravens fumbled 3 times last time and not getting it once. No going for it on 4th and 1 on our own side and getting like 2 feet instead of the whole yard. Like zero mistakes have to happen for them to win this game, and they got to play clean.
Agreed. I could not agree more. The only thing I was going to add to that is like, obviously there could be a point to argue that was brought up earlier in the year, whether, the passing attack difference between Russ and Fields. To be quite honest, too, I don't think you're necessarily losing out on passing ability or accuracy with Fields, especially bearing how if Wilson has been playing the last 4 weeks. I mean, he's had some
Right.
pretty off throws, and it hasn't just been like a game here, a game there. It's been consistent. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're really losing anything from a passing standpoint. I'm not saying Justin Fields is a bad passer. I just feel like that would be an argument to be made, but I think going with Fields just makes the most sense personally.
I also would like to throw the kitchen sink out there and just play as many people as you can, because this might be the last game of the year. And I know I don't know if Fatano is actually healed or not, but if he was, I would say sit Dan Moore and play Broderick and Fatano. I would say play Roman Wilson. I would say play Cole Holcomb. Throw everybody out there that can play, and let's see what happens. Hopefully, I will see what they can do. The game is on Saturday. It is on Amazon Prime only. So if you do not have Amazon Prime, freeboot it. I don't know. Watch it legally.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear that from us. Chris, let's go through the small amount of picks and let's get out of here. And you know what? To leave on a positive note, Chris, okay. Let me preface this. I want change for the Steelers. And it's been 5 years since we haven't had change. I think if we win games, we're going to see less of an opportunity for change, but I will never root for them to lose.
No, never, ever.
So hopefully this will not be our last podcast preview for next week. I mean, win or lose, we're going to do another one to review this game, and then we'll take our long break like we have the past couple of years. But hopefully this isn't our last one. Hopefully they can find a way to win, and we can keep watching some more Steelers football. Let's go into the picks.
Let's do it.
Chargers at Texans, the first wildcard game.
I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one.
I am too. Texans have been playing like Garbo. So I'm also going Chargers on this one. Let's go Steelers at Ravens.
Just because it might be the last time, I'm going to say the Steelers.
Yeah, with an asterisk, because for those listening, if you listen to this whole podcast at this point, you know which way we actually think is going to happen. But I'll say Steelers too, just to keep the fandom alive, baby. Keep it in my heart. And the final AFC wildcard game, Broncos at Bills. I actually think it might be a pretty decent
one. It definitely could be, but I think the Bills are gonna run away with that one.
I agree. I think it's gonna be the Bills too. I do think it's gonna be maybe a decent game. Then the NFC, I think good games all around. Basically, you got Packers at Eagles. Eagles, who Jalen Hurts has still not out of concussion protocol like 3 weeks ago, which is insane. You gotta imagine he's out of it for the game, right? You have to imagine.
You would think so. I don't know. I feel like the Eagles have a way more talented roster, and the Packers are without a lot of different playmakers, especially just losing Christian Watson on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. They'll squeeze it out.
I'm going with the Eagles too, especially if Jalen Hurts can play. And then if he can't play, I'll go Eagles because Kenny Pickett's playing. Hey-o, just kidding. Let's go. Let's go Commanders at Bucks.
Honestly, I'm going Commanders.
I am too. For some reason, I feel like the Bucks have been kind of slipping. Maybe I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Tampa Bay games. I could be wrong. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna throw my ball knowledge out the window. I don't watch a lot of Tampa Bay games, so I'm actually not sure. Like, they're a very up and down team. I do like the Commanders, the cut of their jib, so I think I'm gonna pick them as well.
Agreed.
And then
Minnesota.
We got the hometown boys Monday night. Oh, that's your pick. Vikings against Rams.
Here's the thing. I mean, the Rams honestly are red hot, right? I mean,
Rams, one of the 2 teams that Minnesota lost to this year.
That's true, and it's home for them. which is
and hope for the Rams.
Another thing going in their favor. But I do think Minnesota will win this game.
One of the only 2 teams Minnesota lost against. And it's I actually think it could be a little harder than people think because of how good Puka and Cooper are. But the whole game rides on Matthew Stafford. I want to throw this other hot take out there. This game really relies on Sam Darnold. Because one thing I thought about with the Vikings and Lions game, with how good the coaching was it seemed like the moment was too big for Sam Darnold. That is sometimes when I was watching him play, it seemed like the moment was too big and he's too nervous. And now we're into a situation where it's even bigger. It's playoffs. He's never been in the playoffs, at least starting before. Yes, he went to the Super Bowl last year with the Niners, but he's never been to he's never started the game. And we'll see now if it is too big for Sam Darnold. Hopefully it's not, because I'm pulling for the Vikings. So, that's going to do it there. So, thank you, as always, for listening. This is our 3rd season of the podcast. And you know what? I'm going to kind of make the announcement now. But as far as our 4th season goes, we've been doing this for a while. It is fun. But the 4th season may be the last. And I might not make it all the way through the season. It kind of just depends. I'm going to give it a really good try this year to put out content and to put out all the stuff that maybe could make you guys want to listen to us and follow us. I'm going to give it a really good try this year. And if that doesn't happen, then we had fun. And this upcoming season might be the last for Northern Steel. But regardless, it might be. Hopefully, it's not the last of this season. We'll find out soon enough. If you want to follow us on, if you want to follow Northern Steel Podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, MySpace, Neopets, and Tamagotchi.com. Chris, you have any last words for the people?
Go Steelers.
Go Steelers, please. Let's do this. Here we go. See you guys next week. Deuces.
Peace.